Does your workday grind leave you downtrodden and empty? Are you feeling anxious about the coming holiday to the point where you're unsure you can cope? And does it all make you want to go super sane on the whole world? Hold on, wait a minute, take a chill pill. Essay here, and when I'm not sounding like a complete ignoramus on the computer, I'm also a published author, and I have a deal for you. Don't miss out on the thrilling and captivating American book series Glitch. This one-of-a-kind series combines literary fiction and crime, creating an adrenaline-fueled adventure to keep you on the edge of your seat. Available now on Kindle or paperback. Grab your copy today at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or your local bookstore. You won't regret it. The links are below in the description. And I'm not some one-hit wonder either. I got other books coming down the pike. So if I don't lose my mind and do something crazy...
Nation, Lois. For a minute there, you almost had me convinced. For a minute.
Bye-bye, baby.
You'll see those books soon enough. Now let's get back to the video. Hello again. Essay here. A long time ago, in the aftermath of the Civil War, the U.S. government decided that they needed to enact laws to basically protect the newly freed blacks from any kind of shenanigans by the defeated Confederates, and therefore they created the 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment is rather broad. It has all kinds of statutes inside of it. And one of the statutes is something called the Equal Protection Clause. Sounds pretty basic. What does it mean? Basically means that everyone shall be treated equally under the law. Doesn't matter if you're an ex-slave or an ex-slave holder. Doesn't matter if you're a Confederate or a Union soldier. Doesn't matter if you're white or black. The law is supposed to treat you equally. Sounds fair. Indeed, it was the basis of Brown versus Board of Education, when the Supreme Court decided that the schools, the way they were run in the South, were separate and unequal, and thus violating the 14th Amendment. But a lot has changed since then. And I'm sorry to say this, but it probably started with Obama. Why? Because anyone who remembers the Tea Party movement, I do. And if you were paying attention back in those days, you will also know that a lot of them were mistreated by the IRS. Why? These people didn't pay their taxes on time? Well, from what we know is, yeah, they paid their taxes on time. So what's the deal? Well, the deal was their politics. Apparently, Obama didn't like their politics. So he basically had his cronies in the IRS basically run these people through the ripsaw. And they did. So when these people basically tried to get their tax exempt status, not only was it held up forever, but the damn IRS officials basically treat these people with unjust audits and all kinds of nonsense. And even though Obama is no longer president, what he basically started did not end. And right now, as we speak, this kind of nonsense has metastasized. Indeed. For example, just recently, Portland had settled a strike amongst its school teachers. But as part of the settlement, from now on, anyone misbehaving in the schools, the students, will not be treated equally under the law. Oh no. So how are they gonna be treated? By the melanin in your skin. That's right. In other words, the browner you are, you can get away with murder. If you're pasty white, yeah, you likely be held over in class just for giving the damn teacher a fish-eyed look. Will this stand? Probably not. Because if you have enough good people who feel that their kids are being mistreated, while other kids are allowed to basically just, toss into the assistant principal's office and walk away laughing afterwards, yeah, you're probably going to see some lawsuits, and fast. And the funny thing is, somebody predicted this might happen one day. And you say, who is this broke, huh? Well, I never heard the fella myself. But he used to work for the New York Times. He's dead now.
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone. Hello.
Ignore that.
Are you there?
Yeah, his name was Samuel Francis. Well, people just called him Sam Francis for short. And he was a conservative. He worked for the New York Times as a columnist. And yet, let's just say this. Because of a speech he gave, he got a little bit carried away. How carried away? Well, according to Dinesh D'Souza, who also worked at the New York Times, at the Washington Times around the same time, he called the man out when he was at a something called the American Resistance Conference. This was back in the 90s. And this guy, Francis, he basically got his ass on his shoulders and started talking about how liberal principles were facilitating a war against the white race. And you're saying, man, that sounds kind of Nazi-like, and I would agree. But he didn't stop there. Oh no. I think he probably really got in trouble when he started ragging on Garth Brooks, who was big shit back then. Yeah, he didn't like his music. He called the guy's music repulsive. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, he probably just lost the Garth Brooks vote. and then he went on to advocate that whites must reassert their identity and solidarity. And you say, well, that sounds like white nationalism. Yeah. But then, as someone famously said about Nixon, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you don't have enemies. And this guy, he was definitely ahead of his time. Because one of the things he mentioned was something called Anarcho Tyranny. And you probably heard that phrase before. But he was the one who created it. And what did he call Anarcho Tyranny? He called it an armed dictatorship without the rule of law. So what does that exactly mean? Well,
It basically means what it means. It means where you have a government that basically has no rules and does what it wants and whatever it wants, basically on pure whimsy. Now you say a government like that can't function. I mean, that's just chaos. This is true, but doesn't mean it hasn't been tried. I mean, have you ever heard of the Reign of Terror? Yeah. Well, anyone who knows anything about French history knows what that's about. How you had a bunch of people in the provisional government who basically decided that following rules was for saps, that they were going to do what they want. And before you could say Joe Blow, they started dragging people in that first word they considered counter-revolutionaries, but then it just applied to almost anyone. And they would drag them before their damn kangaroo court, have a quick trial and a quicker conviction, and then send them off to the guillotine. And it got so bad that people were afraid to say or do anything. It was like they were acting. People in France were acting like a bunch of long-tailed cats in a room full of rocking chairs. But then the Frenchies eventually had enough and basically got rid of these knuckleheads who were running the provisional government and gave them the guillotine, including Robespierre, who was running the whole damn show at the time. And then, of course, it happened again in the 1970s when the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, took over Cambodia. And according to the history books, initially they wanted to revert Cambodia back to the bad old days of the Khmer Empire that existed back in, I think, the 14th, 15th century. Problem is, that lasted about 10 seconds. And the Khmer Rouge just started killing people. First, through starvation. You know, they evacuated the cities like Phnom Penh, took people out to the countryside, and started working them to the bone. Doing what? Breaking big rocks into little rocks. Making roads to nowhere. Creating rice paddies with no rice seedlings. You know, stuff like that. And if anyone even dared open their mouths, off with their heads, both figuratively and literally. Indeed, if you go to Phnom Penh nowadays, there's a huge monument full of human skulls of all the people that the damn Khmer Rouge murdered. Indeed, they killed off like 1/3 the entire population of Cambodia before the damn people in Hanoi intervened about 4 years later. And now it looks like it's happening again here in America. And you say, oh, you're full of beans. Am I? Look what happened just recently in Georgia. Because remember when that knucklehead was drunk over at the Wendy's in the drive-thru, and then when the Atlanta cops showed up and tried to wake the guy up, the guy started to fight with the cops and got himself shot for his trouble? Well, a couple of doofuses burnt the damn place down. And eventually they got arrested. And according to Atlanta law, these guys should have easily gotten 20 years for arson. You know, first-degree arson. You know what they get? Did they get 20 years? 10 years? Maybe even 2? Nope. They got no jail time. And a $500 fine. You say, man, they must have had Johnny Cochran as their lawyer. Yeah, well, maybe they use a Ouija board since Johnny Cochran's been dead for like damn near 20 years now. Nope. What you see there is Anarcho Tyranny in the flesh. When people break the law, and then they're not only not punished, but basically given almost like the bare minimum sentence. That's anarcho tyranny. That's when basically the law doesn't apply anymore, unless of course you're the wrong person. Because, for example, there's still a bunch of people over there in the DC jail who were arrested back in 2021 who haven't seen a judge yet, and they're probably not going to see a judge. And they're not the only ones either. Do you remember back in 2020 when that courthouse in Portland was firebombed repeatedly by Antifa? You know how many people actually gone to trial for that? 20? 50? 100 people maybe? Nope. You know how many people have gone to trial trying to burn down that federal courthouse, which is federal property? You figure that seeing what happened to the people who caused a riot at the Capitol, that the people who tried to burn down that courthouse will be sitting in the damn Portland jail waiting charges. Well, you're wrong. You know how many people are being held currently in Portland on facing charges trying to burn down that federal courthouse? You ready? This many. One big fat goose egg. Zip, zero, nada. And you say, but didn't the damn federal police arrest some of these knuckleheads? Yeah. And you know what happened to them? They got let go. And no, didn't happen under Trump. It happened under the damn old Sleepy Joe. Yep. He and that knucklehead Garland, who almost became a Supreme Court justice, cut these guys loose. No charges, no nothing. Have a nice day. Son of a bitch. So I guess if you're Antifa, if they attack the damn Capitol with firebombs, I guess they're not going to get arrested at all, huh? Yeah. So it makes you wonder what would happen if they were wearing a bunch of red hats that said "Make America Great Again." Yeah, I guess they probably would have been held in the damn Portland jail then, huh? Yeah, that's anarcho tyranny. When some group of people can do something and get away with murder, and a different group of people do the same thing and they get slammed with a 100-pound mallet. Mm-hmm. That's right. I tell you, anarcho tyranny does not work. It doesn't. They tried it in the French Revolution. It didn't work. They tried it in Cambodia. It didn't work. And guess what? Even though Obama is long gone, from the White House anyway, it ain't gonna work here either. Nope. The only question is, how is it gonna end? Is it gonna end with someone dragging Garland and old Sleepy Joe out of the White House and giving them the Robespierre treatment? Or is it going to end with some foreign army knocking over the U.S. Establishment and basically chasing the damn knuckleheads who are ruining the country out of town? Don't know. But this crap cannot stand. Nope. Now, most people who are going to work or sitting in some old folks' home, you know, falling asleep on reruns of People's Court. They're not paying attention. But believe me, sooner or later, a situation is going to occur, and they're going to feel the full force of anarcho tyranny on their heads. And then they'll wake up. How? Who knows? They might make the mistake of spitting on the sidewalk in front of a federal building and then have some federal goons bitch slap them right there in broad daylight. Or they can make the mistake of going up to the Capitol building after that riot, looking around, wondering what happened here, and taking a few pictures and going home, and then somehow having some federal marshals show up at their doorstep like a good year later, arresting them for what? Trespassing. And you say, what? Yeah, that's happened. Indeed. Are you familiar with that damn Lady Ball movie that was made by the Daily Wire? Yeah, that happened already. Some guy who actually was in the film, can't remember his name now, he was at the Capitol building. Didn't go inside the building, but he was there. And he said that he was contacted by the FBI later that year. They interrogated him, but didn't arrest him. They let him go. But guess what? When they premiered this damn movie, which he had a brief part in, he was going home, and when he was at the airport, the damn FBI arrested him. And for what? Bullshit charges. I mean, according to Tim Pool, yeah, I know, I like a guy. Said that they said that he was charged with 3 misdemeanors. Yeah, and they arrested him, held him until he had to post, I think, $1,000 bond. Now he has to show up at federal court. And I'm thinking, really, dude? That's anarcho tyranny. But guess what? There's enough good people who have woke up and see what's going on. They're not standing for this. They're not standing for this at all. So how do you fight anarcho tyranny? Not with guns. No, we're not there yet. You have to do it through the ballot box. Leave guns off to the side. Because Frederick Douglass long ago famously said that we have 3 boxes in America to maintain our liberty. The soapbox, people getting up and speaking their mind. The ballot box, people voting in the right leaders that will protect our rights and liberties. And then, wait for it, when those 2 boxes fail, then you have the cartridge box, or what we call nowadays, you know, the federal brand ammo box. Yeah. When those first 2 boxes fail, that's when you have to bring out the guns. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We still have the soapbox, and we still have the ballot box. And God willing, that's all we'll need to fight back against this anarcho tyranny. And God willing, we will succeed. And that's all I have to say on that. And that's my opinion.